Hello again. I say again because I trashed that previous video. First of all, because I forgot to add a trigger warning. I did speak a lot about child abuse, and I feel like in the beginning of something like that, one should inform the audience that there is indeed a trigger warning. But like the last video, I'm still high as fuck, so you'll have to continue to bear with me. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna put in a cough drop because my mouth is really dry. So you know, a lot of people go through shit in their lives, and a lot of people come out of it fine. You know, a lot of them have, say, a child was molested and they told their parents, and their parents took care of the situation by making sure the perpetrator was prosecuted, and then sent the child to therapy for whatever the child might have needed. That didn't happen in my case, and again, like I said in my previous video, what did happen was, I'm going to go a little bit more deeper into my early childhood to give a better understanding of the person I am. So I'll start with my parents. My mother and my father met very young. I'm talking like they were 18. And they married right away. And my mother had me when she was 20, and my father was only 19. His mother died shortly before I was born, and my mother was not very nice to him, and he was also in the army. So there were 3 forms of stress right there. And I was a colicky baby, and he was stressed out, so I would cry a lot, and he would shake me and tell me to shut the fuck up. So there's that. And my mother thought that she was keeping me safe by leaving him for my abuser, Mike. But when they met, I believe I was 9 months old. At 14 months old, they got into an argument, and Mike was just like, I guess it was a pretty bad argument, and Mike was just like, whatever, I'm going to take Judy to get a Slurpee. I didn't end up getting a Slurpee that day. What I got was my ass beat. And like 2 days later, my grandma showed up to visit, and although my mother claimed that she didn't see any bruises, like she was like magically blind or whatever, there were bruises all over my little body, and my grandmother had me taken away. So I was still breastfeeding at that time, and so that bond was just broken, like just shattered. I guess there's some sort of bond between like a mother and a baby when they're breastfeeding, and when it's just broken like that, I guess problems already can arise. But I was taken to a very nice house. I believe I called the woman Nana, and Mom would come and visit, and each time she visited, I wanted to see her less and less because I knew that she was going to leave. And I got less and less upset when she left. And it came to a point where she showed up for a visit and I didn't want to leave my toys. Like, I was playing with blocks or whatever. And I don't know where I was going with that story, but so that's pretty much how my childhood started. I guess they took some parenting classes, Mike included. Didn't do anything because I was still, I mean, Mom, so we had to do these classes where, like, we were rebonding. So I don't know, I guess we would, like, get into, like, these parent groups, and it would be, like, moms trying to reunite with their children and, like, get them back from foster care, and, like, they would do things like sing songs and stuff together. And I guess Mom liked to bring up, like, singing the Itsy Bitsy Spider with me. I really don't remember any of that. What I do remember is a nice old lady feeding me soup. That's all I remember from that. And I remember my grandmother taking me and putting me in the car, and my mom yelling, "No, not my baby," and she was crying. Like, but I mean, I had to leave because Mike was beating the shit out of me. So that was 14 months. So there was physical abuse, lots of physical abuse. If you spilled a cup of milk, you would have your face slammed in it, and hard. For instance, Mike also liked to scare us by, like, pulling off his belt, and Mom let him be the disciplinarian. In fact, she used him as a threat, like, "Oh, I'm gonna tell your father," you know, and she did, and we would get our asses beat for, like, whatever. I remember, like, in 3rd grade, I think it was 3rd grade, I forgot my homework at school, some spelling homework, like spelling words, and I was, like, acing that part of class anyway, like, I wasn't even worried about it, but I forgot to bring it home, and I got my ass beat. Like, I didn't even get dinner, and there were bruises on my legs the next day at school, and I was wearing this dress with these white tights with little hearts on them, and I guess my 3rd grade teacher could see the bruises through my legs, and through my tights, and I had to go to the nurse's office and take off my clothes so they could, like, measure the bruises, and that was really embarrassing. I remember how cold it was in the room, and I didn't know the other lady. Like, I knew the school counselor, but I didn't know the other lady, and they called CPS, and I got in trouble. Like, my parents thought that, like, I told on them, but I didn't. Like, I didn't say anything. I never said anything. The sexual abuse, I remember it starting when we moved into the house that we bought, and I was 7, so I guess it was, I mean, that's what I'm remembering, but it could have been earlier. I won't go into detail there because, like, it's just disgusting, but Mike would do everything in his power to make sure that, like, we could be alone, and Mom took a job, like, an overnight job where she was, like, a caregiver, and she stayed overnight at people with developmental disabilities homes, and I remember just dreading when she had to work because I knew what was coming. I did not mean to get into such depth, like, at all, but I guess that's just a taste of what I went through. In 1996, up here, I guess there was, like, an ice storm or a snowstorm, and it was pretty bad. Like, it was really bad. Some of you might remember, like if you're from the Pacific Northwest and you were, around in 1996, like there was a pretty bad ice storm and we lost power, and we were all huddled in my parents' bed, and I guess like Mike was like pawing at my mom, and Mom was like, no, not in front of the kids. And like me, being the smart ass that I still am, I was like, oh, don't worry, Mom. He does it to me all the time. And that's how I told. And Mom was like, what? And I didn't look at Mike, but apparently his face went like completely gray. And so the next day, Mom called me into the bedroom and asked me some questions. And then she called the police, and the police came when Mike got home from work, and they weren't even going to arrest him, except he had like unpaid parking tickets. I don't remember how long he ended up in jail, but I do remember that like developed a rift between my middle brother and I, because he felt like I was trying to take his father away, and that rift is still there to this day. I think that's as far as I'm going to go into the sexual abuse. So my mom didn't know what to do or where to turn, like, in this situation. So she turned to the church. She was really into, like, Christian culture, I guess, like Christianity, and we went to this really conservative church called the Church of Christ, and they're known for like having no instruments and like just really going by like the Old Testament and stuff, like I don't know. And so she would speak with the ladies and for guidance and support, and their idea of guidance and support was suggesting that maybe Mom send me to live somewhere else for a while so the boys could have their father, because one, Mike wasn't allowed to be around me, and the family needed to stay together. So that started my feeling of not belonging, and that sucked. I didn't learn stability in my formative years at all. Like, I mean, I'm just now learning it. But, for 27 years, like, I never truly felt affected by my abuse. Like, it was just like, yeah, this happened and this is the way my life was, and yeah, it led to like drug abuse and poor choices and that kind of stuff, but it just didn't bother me. But what triggered my PTSD, which I was just diagnosed with after working with my therapist for 7 months, God, I'm all shaky, Jesus Christ. What triggered my PTSD was this gentleman named Brian, who stayed in the room like adjoining to mine when I lived up here in Seattle, and he liked to do meth, and he would stay up really late and masturbate, and he knew I was gay. He knew I was in a relationship with a woman, and he would like taunt me through the walls, like my name, and make sexual noises and things like that. And that's what triggered my first PTSD episode. And what happened then was, first of all, I couldn't believe it was happening. Like, I took my phone and downloaded a voice recorder app and turned it on and put it against the wall just to make sure that like this was really happening and I wasn't going crazy. And I did not sleep for 3 nights. I forgot to eat, and I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to leave my room. In fact, like, I quit my job because I just didn't care anymore. Like, it's not like I wanted to kill myself, but I didn't want to exist anymore. And at the same time, it's like a floodgate was opened and all of these memories came rushing back to me, but they weren't memories. It was like, it was all happening again. Like I was there again, but it was like one after the other, after the other, after the other. And I felt very unsafe and I didn't know what to do and I didn't know what was going on with me. Like, I called the crisis line, got in touch with the therapist that I have now, and I remember it was a Friday. I called my partner at work and I was pretty much talking like nonsense. Like, I wanted to check myself into the emergency room, into the psych ward, because I felt like I was going crazy and I kept talking about like a diagnosis and Lena didn't understand. So we agreed to just meet at her place. So she left work early and I went over to her house, and I didn't realize it, but like, I traveled to her house with like mascara down my face because I had been crying, and I was just a mess, like such a mess. And I mean, we talked it out, and after I saw my therapist, we made a plan for me to leave the place I was living. And even like returning to that place, like, freaked me out. Like, I had like visceral feelings, like hair standing on the back of my back, and my neck was really tense, and like, I mean, I just felt like if I was gonna run into that guy any moment, and my stomach was just in knots. And he was such an asshole too. Like, I was like, I'm moving out, because he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm moving. And he's like, no, you're not, you know. And just like fucking bullshit, like passive aggressive shit. Like, he knew he was fucking with me, and he knew that I wasn't into men, and he knew that what he was doing was inappropriate. And before I left, before I got the last bit of my stuff out of the house, I told him he was disgusting. And I told him straight to his face. And I mean, I didn't feel better. Like, I didn't feel good about it. I didn't feel bad about it, but I just didn't want to like leave like feeling like I was cowering, you know. So there's that story. This happened, this was all happening, I want to say in May of this past year. And it took me a long time to come back from that and to, you know, just feel better and more secure. Like, my partner invited me to live with her, you know. I didn't have the funds to move really, and I didn't really have any other options, and, you know, it was just time anyway. Like, we've been together for like ever, so whatever. But even after I was like out of there, I still just didn't feel right. And spent some time with my therapist, and she would even ask me, like, on a scale from 1 to 10, how here are you? And, like, I didn't realize it, but, like, I was never, like, in my body ever. Like, I spent my life, like, okay, my body's here, but my brain is over here. And I learned that that is your brain trying to protect you from the trauma you're experiencing. And when you experience trauma so young, that just becomes a lifestyle pretty much. So now I have to work really hard to stay in the present. And I do that by exercises that I've learned. There's like taste, touch, smell exercises that slowly bring me back into my body. There's other ones that I can't think of at this moment. But usually I just catch myself not being there, and it's usually in the middle of a conversation. Something will trigger a memory and I will go off into a la land, and that's if I'm lucky. If a bad memory is triggered, then I'm what I call pulled back into a memory, but it's more like a movie because it's like actually happening. And so I'm a little shaky, Jesus Christ. So that, I guess, is what post-traumatic stress disorder is for me. And oh God, and I have nightmares. Like, I wish I live for control, like feeling like I'm in control. But when I'm asleep, I am not in control. And I have these nightmares that like just evoke such emotions that like when I wake up in the morning, sometimes it takes hours to come back from those feelings. And if I'm lucky, I don't even remember the dreams. The nightmares are the worst. And I was bullied in school because I overate to cope, and I got really fat. And I did poorly in school, even though I was very smart. I just never paid attention in class, and I always had a book in my face. Like, I was like dissociating at a very young age. Like, I wanted nothing to do with my reality. I would like fantasize about living in different families, like people from church. I would just like fantasize about like living with them and like how much better my life would be. And when I was 24, I survived my one and only serious suicide attempt, where I had been hoarding pills, but not like with the with the exact intent to kill myself, but just as like an option. So I had like clonidine, which is an emergency blood pressure medication. I had a full bottle of that, and I had a full bottle of Risperdal, and a bunch of Seroquel, and I think some benzos. And I was living in Reno at the time, and a lot of stuff happened. I was using meth, and I was in the psychosis. And I was working for my grandmother, and I was collecting rent because she owned a motel and apartment complex. And I had this idea in my mind that I would take this rent money that someone had just paid me, and I would go to a casino, and I would win all of this money, and my grandmother would no longer be in bankruptcy. Like, it was something like I really believed. But instead, I lost all of the money. And since she was in bankruptcy, she had to account for every penny that she brought in. So that happened. And then the person who I was in kind of a relationship with, we had been together for over 4 years, told me that same day that she wanted nothing to do with me. And I just felt, you know, like I just wanted my life to end. So I took all of these pills, and I'm not even sure how I survived, but I did. And it took me like a week to come back from that. And I mean, I'm glad I did, because like things definitely get better. And if you're ever, this is the message I want to send. Like, I don't want this to be like a depressing video. The message I want you to hear is it definitely gets better. Like, first of all, it's important to surround yourself with people that support you. And if that means getting online and just talking to people, like, and that's all you can do, do it, dude. Like, seriously. If you're anxious around people like me, that is a great, a great way to feel supported. Check your area and see if you can get like free or low cost therapy. I definitely recommend that. And just know that like you're not alone. Like, you are not alone ever. You are never alone. There's always somebody out there that cares about you. And there's somebody out there willing to talk to you. Like, I'm here. I'll talk to you. I'm here for you, man. Like, you're not alone. And I'm not sure what else I'm trying to say. I just want you to know that it gets better, and that it takes time, and it's emotional, and it's lonely at times. It can definitely feel very isolating with the PTSD diagnosis. Like, I've spent my entire life feeling different from everybody around me, and it's just the way it is with this diagnosis. It's like your brain is injured in a way, and luckily there is treatment and hopefully like a cure, or so my therapist says. There's ways of making like the flashbacks fewer and farther between or whatever. And so I live for that. I live for the good days. I live for laughing. And what I like to do, like with myself in my free time, is I like to collage. I have one started right back there. And since we're remodeling this old house from the 80s, all of my collages are going onto pieces of paper, so they're easily removable. But that's one way I fill my time, and I like to chat with my friends. I still feel weird about like going out and seeing people. There's a few people I'm comfortable around, like my partner, and then I have this certain friend, Heidi. She's just like amazing. And I wish this other person, her name is Natalie, I wish she lived closer, because I would spend a lot of time with her. In September, I lost a friend to suicide, and at that very same time, we had just moved into this house, and I was starting a new medication, and there were like a lot of changes happening, and my partner had to go to some conference, and she was gone for 5 days, and Natalie was like my anchor through all of this. Like, she totally understood. I would tell her my feelings over and over again, and like, how could he, and like, why didn't he say goodbye, and like just all of this stuff, and she just listened and she talked to me, and I just wish that I could like repay that, because that was one of the kindest things anyone's ever really done for me. I'm not sure where else I want this video to go. But I'm happy to get it out there, and I feel a little better. I just want you to know that you're not alone. You're never alone. Ever. That's all I have to say. Thanks for watching. Bye.